Everybody now at gas stations, no matter where they go, they find it. They find these, stickers, and they're losing their mind. They're completely losing their mind. They don't know what to do because they can't take them off enough. So instead, they're just, saying, oh, it's like this. Oh, it's like that. No, it's like this. Louisiana says, and they sent this to their attorney general, their secretary of state, their governor, their legislature, their mayors, their city councils, their parish councils, their school boards and sheriffs from We the People. And they say, we address you today regarding your failures of leadership and failures to protect the fundamental rights of your constituents. We the people of this state have called, emailed, protested, shown up to school board, council meetings, and committee hearings. With one voice, we demanded that you preserve and protect our freedoms. We offered you ample opportunities to address these issues, yet you stood by while a tyrannical governor, overreaching mayors, and unaccountable federal leviathan destroyed our state. We demand that you answer for your inaction, and we will continue to utilize all forms of communication to call attention to your failures and promote your impending removals from office. We have determined that you are not standing for all our freedoms. You are part of the problem. The governor, secretary of state, and legislators will now stand by and watch as we peacefully remove them from their respective positions. Attorney General Landry, you have no choice to stand with us and fight to secure our constitutional freedoms, or you can stand by while we also remove you. We, the people of the great state of Louisiana, demand Attorney General Landry to agree to meeting with us immediately. How have you failed us? You stood by while tyrants attacked our most basic rights to live and work freely, using fear and tyranny to lock us in our homes and attack our rights to bodily autonomy. You stood by while jobs, schools, weddings, funerals, reunions, festivals, concerts, and football games were shut down, yet thousands freely marched in our streets for months. You stood by while our kids were deprived of their education, were muzzled by political pseudoscience, and school board meetings were cut short because parents came in to protest mask mandates. You stood by while small businesses were shattered. Meanwhile, Amazon made record profits. You stood by while experimental drugs and the most dangerous and deadly vaccines of at least the last 30 years were forced upon us at the gun of economic ruin. You stood by as occupancy, mask, and vaccine mandates from incompetent mayors like LaToya Cantrell and Sharon Weston Broome disproportionately crushed the African American community and continue to do so. You stood by while the lockdowns closed half our small businesses for good. As with the vaccine mandates, African American businesses were especially hard hit. A fact that seems to go unnoticed by Governor Edwards, Mayor Cantrell, Mayor Broome, who continue to devastate minority communities. You stood by while countless elected officials who swore to uphold our constitutional freedoms labeled your constituents as conspiracy theorists because they dared to question massive, serious, clear as day security issues in the November 3rd, 2020 election. You stood by while our Secretary of State allowed us to vote on outdated election machines that have not been certified since 2017. In 2 weeks, we will be using the same uncertified machines. You stood by while the Arizona audit uncovered just how vulnerable our election machines are, and yet the people have not seen where any of you have taken any action to restore our faith in election integrity. You stood by as Dr. Anthony Fauci and the NIH lied about the origin of the virus. This led to precious lost response time and political pressure on China that cost Louisiana lives. Perhaps the most appalling, You stood by and allowed the same corrupt FDA, CDC, and NIH to ban effective treatments for COVID in favor of more expensive experimental treatments that are killing people. These actions cost the lives of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of Louisianians whose blood is on your hands. It doesn't matter what other victories you have achieved when you have not even stepped to the biggest and most important fights in our history. You have failed this state. You have failed this country. You have failed the people, and we no longer consent to your failed governance. In closing, you stood by while the citizens you swore to protect were deprived of constitutional rights secured through the blood, sweat, and tears of our forefathers and foremothers. Now, you can resign or stand by and watch while we remove every one of you from your position and take back our beloved state. Your time is up.